Parasyte, the Grey, follows our main character, a grocery store worker named Soo In. One day, while she is working, Soo In encounters a rude customer. Being a service worker, she ignores the rough man. Later, however, Soo In starts to become more concerned when the man stalks her on her way home. Crashing into her motorbike on a dark countryside road, the man stabs her multiple times and leaves her to bleed out among the reeds. Thinking her time on Earth is probably over, imagine how surprised Soo In is when she wakes up in the hospital, mysteriously healed, and hears from Detective Chul Min, the same officer who helped her when she reported her father for abuse when she was a child, that her attacker was suddenly slashed and killed. As Soo In will later learn, after she was stabbed, she was actually infected by a mysterious parasite that healed her and partially took over her brain, both saving her life and making her a target for the other parasites who have infiltrated Earth and can sense each other. In fact, the parasite infestation has spread so far that, although the general public doesn't know about the invasion yet, the Korean government has created a special task force to eradicate the monsters. Called Team Grey, the task force is led by Jun Kyung, who is using her infected husband as a hunting dog to sniff out other parasites. At the same time, a gang member named Seol Kang Woo fails to kill the leader of a rival gang and is forced to go back to his hometown. However, arriving home, he finds his older sister, Kyung-hee, acting really strangely. When, after asking about their younger sister, Jin-hee, Kyung-hee vaguely replies that she's around, Kang Woo starts to get suspicious. What is going on here? Sneaking around, Kang Woo finds a flyer on Jin-hee's dresser for a Sejin Church Revival prayer meeting. Later, after Kang Woo spots his sister, who, by the way, is actually a full-on parasite, approaching Soo In and handing her a flyer for the church, Soo In's parasite approaches Kang Woo. Connecting the dots, when Soo In wakes up, Kang Woo explains to her what is going on. Because the parasite had to heal her when it entered her body, she is now a mutant. Basically, Soo In is two different beings at the same time. Naturally, Soo In is freaked out, as anybody would be if a stranger told them they were infested by a parasite. Eventually, though, the blocks start to fall in place as Soo In starts to sense the other parasites lurking around her. As for Kang Woo, he is determined to try and find his younger sister. The next day, Detective Chul Min goes to visit Soo In while she is working. On her break, Detective Chul Min and Soo In chat and he picks one of her hair. However, it doesn't disintegrate. According to Jun Kyung, a parasite's hair always disintegrates. Convinced now that Soo In is verified as fully human, before leaving, Detective Chul Min gives her a souvenir keyring, which will be important later. That night, Kyung-hee picks up Soo In and they head to the church. At the same time, Kang Woo sneaks to the church and films as he watches a group of parasites enter the church, led by a cult leader-type pastor, Parasite Gathering. Curious to learn more, Kang Woo decides to explore the shed next to the church, where he is disgusted to find countless dead human bodies wrapped in plastic and hung upside down, the parasite's pantry. Trying to avoid the lurking parasite, Kang Woo is horrified to stumble into none other than his little sister inside one of the bags. Inside the church, Soo In is learning from the pastor that the parasites have arrived on Earth to take over humanity. According to the pastor, the parasites, who rely on human hosts, have to unite in order to survive. Suddenly, the meeting is cut short when Kang Woo, blinded by the shock of finding his sister, starts to attack the lurking parasite. Alerting all the other parasites in the church, they all start to hunt Kang Woo. When his enemy gang shows up and grabs Kang Woo in the woods, they are all killed by the parasites. However, Kang Woo is saved by Soo In, and they manage to meet with one of Kang Woo's fellow gang members, Kyu Min. Kang Woo and Soo In are not out of the woods yet. As they soon find out, Kyu Min has actually ratted Kang Woo out and has to kill him to save himself. So, while driving, Kang Woo and Kyu Min start fighting with knives, only stopping when a parasite drops onto the car's windshield, attacking the humans. Luckily, Soo In's parasite comes out and Kang Woo is saved in the last second. Fleeing to a motel, Kang Woo tells Soo In that they need to tell the police about the parasites and their creepy church cult. Remember, the police and government have not told the public that they know about the invasion. When Soo In tells Kang Woo that they can trust Detective Chul Min, Kang Woo and Soo In head to a phone box and anonymously report the monsters to a listening Detective Chul Min. Deciding to handle the anonymous call himself, Detective Chul Min goes to speak to Jun Kyung and informs her about the tip-off and the church. Jun Kyung wastes no time, and in a few hours, the entire task force is set to attack the church. However, when they show up, all they find in the church is the pantry of bodies. Clearly, the parasites knew they were coming. However, the trip is not a full-on waste of time as they find the symbol of the parasites painted on the wall, in addition to the pile of over 500 human corpse pieces. But what is even more shocking to Detective Chulmin is that he spots Soo-in's keys, along with the souvenir keyring that he gifted her dropped on the floor. Secretly pocketing the keys, Detective Chulmin is filled with questions. Is Soo-in a parasite? And why weren't there any parasites in the church? Well, as it turns out, the answer to the second question was right under his nose. The police have a rat. Next, we see that Detective Chulmin's trusted junior detective, whose name is Detective Hwan, is actually an ally of the parasite cult, despite being a human. Meeting with the parasites who have moved their organization to a different warehouse, the pastor parasite hands Hwan a knife that was created to mimic the parasite's tentacles and orders him to kill Jun Kyung's hunting dog with the tentacle knife no matter what. Meanwhile, arriving back from the church, Detective Chulmin calls Soo-in and arranges to meet with her at an abandoned amusement park. Little does he know that Jun Kyung has put a tail on him and is following him. Meeting Soo-in, Detective Chulmin hands her the keys and asks her why she was at the church and whether she's in danger. But before she can explain, Jun Kyung shows up with her hunting dog husband, guns blazing. Controlled by the parasite, Soo-in attacks Jun Kyung and tries to run away. Meanwhile, Detective Hwan, instead of heading inside like all the other officers, stays behind and takes out the hunting dog, stabbing him with the weird tentacle knife, not aware that Kang Woo is secretly watching him from a hidden perch in the mountain behind. Back in the amusement park, Soo-in passes out, and Jun Kyung, beside herself after seeing her hunting dog dead, grabs the bloody gray helmet that imprisoned and tortured her husband and shoves it onto Soo-in's head. Returning to the police station, the officers test Soo-in. However, when Detective Chulmin demands that they tell the officials the truth, Team Grey admits that Soo-in doesn't show the usual signs of being a parasite. Currently in a coma state, the officials decide that Soo-in needs to be transferred to the official headquarters. Worried about Soo-in, Detective Chulmin approaches Kang Woo, who had been on his way out of town. In the car, Kang Woo tells Detective Chulmin not only that Detective Hwan is the traitor who killed the hunting dog, but also about how Soo-in is a mutant parasite. Hearing this, Detective Chulmin decides that they have to rescue Soo-in, but Kang Woo is out. He has suffered enough. Chulmin knows he can't do it alone, and so, after accusing Kang Woo of being a coward who has lost everyone in his life due to his cowardly behavior, Chulmin manages to convince Kang Woo to team up. As the time of Soo-in's transfer arrives, Kang Woo breaks into the station by disguising himself as a transfer crew member. Then, as they are moving Soo-in, suddenly there is an accident on the highway and the parasites appear, attacking everyone in their way, including the drivers of the massive truck that Soo-in is being kept in. Taking his opportunity, Kang Woo frees Soo-in and they escape with Soo-in waking up from her coma once Kang Woo removes the helmet. Meanwhile, Detective Chulmin spots Soo-in escaping and he and Detective Hwan follow them. However, Detective Hwan has figured out that Detective Chulmin knows his secret, and so he drives Detective Chulmin to a hideout where, after revealing his true alliance, the parasite pastor shows up. When Detective Chulmin shoots at him, the parasite pastor cuts off Chulmin's head, and then, just as Soo-in arrives, the parasite who used to be in the pastor slides into Chulmin's body. Horrified, Soo-in's parasite attacks the new parasite Chulmin, only just managing to escape when Kang Woo shows up. Upset about being without a hunting dog, Jun Kyung is surprised when Parasite Chulmin, who is, of course, pretending to be human to everyone except Detective Hwan, shows her the new church where, supposedly, all the parasites are hiding out. Seeing the parasite symbol painted on this new church, Jun Kyung arranges for the task force to attack this new place. However, that night, Soo-in calls Jun Kyung and warns her, mistakenly, that both Detective Chulmin and Detective Hwan are parasites. Agreeing to meet later, Soo-in and Jun Kyung finally come face-to-face on opposing rooftops where Soo-in explains the relationship she has with the parasite in her, whom she has nicknamed Heidi, and also how she saw Detective Chulmin turn into a parasite in front of her very eyes. Although Jun Kyung takes what she says seriously, she also wants a new hunting dog. And so, when guards show up on the roof holding the helmet, Soo-in is forced to run away again. However, Soo-in's words succeed in making Jun Kyung suspicious of Detective Chulmin and Detective Hwan. Acting on her suspicions, in the elevator, Jun Kyung cuts Detective Hwan-sok's hair. However, as we know, Detective Hwan-sok is a human, not a parasite, and so his hair doesn't disintegrate. Seeing this, Jun Kyung lets go of some of her doubts, meaning that when Kang Woo and Soo-in contact Jun Kyung again to warn her that the attack on the new church is most likely a trap, she just straight up shrugs off their warnings. Meanwhile, when Kyung-hee sees Parasite Chulmin take out one of the other parasites, she feels betrayed. Kyung-hee thought the parasites were supposed to stand together, not attack each other. Suddenly doubting whether she was on the right side, Kyung-hee decides to call Kang Woo. Although they both feel unsure about teaming up with a parasite, when Kang Woo hands the phone to Soo In, she agrees that they should team up to take out parasite Chulmin. Meeting together, Kang Woo and Soo In explain to Kyung-hee how parasite Chulmin is planning on going after the mayor at an upcoming music festival. Agreeing to help each other stop parasite Chulmin's malicious plans, Kang Woo, Soo In, and Kyung-hee start to devise a plan. Meanwhile, the officials have ordered Team Grey to move to a neighboring town. While Team Grey is moving, Soo In, being controlled by Heidi, explains to Jun Kyung about the parasite's plans to kill the mayor at the music festival. Deciding to believe her, Jun Kyung goes against the officials and chooses to stay for the music festival. Later, as the festival is starting, Kyung-hee and Soo In wait in the parking lot as Kang Woo heads in. Keeping the mayor in sight, Kang Woo tips off Soo In and Kyung-hee when he finally spots Parasite Chulmin moving to attack the mayor. Luckily, just as Parasite Chulmin is about to kill the mayor, Kyung-hee attacks. During the fight, Kyung-hee is killed and the parasite moves into Won-sok's body. When Kyung-hee is defeated, Soo In comes to the rescue, allowing Kang Woo and the mayor to escape. Arriving at the climax of the fight, Jun Kyung has to decide who to kill. Will it be Won-sok, whom she tested to be human, or Soo In, whom she still doesn't fully trust? Luckily, Jun Kyung spots in a mirror that Won-sok is a parasite and shoots him. At the same time, Soo In kills a stray parasite that was targeting Jun Kyung from behind. With the enemies killed, Heidi comes out and tells Jun Kyung that Soo In is a trusting person despite her history of being hurt. Relating to Soo In, Jun Kyung decides that Soo In is just a normal human and lets her go. By the end, Kang Woo and Soo In have become close friends. And as they walk together, Kang Woo updates Soo In that he has recently joined Team Grey and invites her also to join the team. Standing together on the jetty, Kang Woo brings out a note that Heidi wrote to Soo In. Reading the note to herself once Kang Woo leaves, Soo In reads how Heidi wrote that, whether she likes it or not, she's not alone. In the final scene, Jun Kyung meets with a visitor who is a parasite expert. Turning around, the Japanese visitor reveals himself to be Shinichi, the main character of the manga that the series was based on, as he holds out his hand for her to shake.